Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my episode on small print publishers. They're the kind of saving grace for us collectors who are sad to see physical media go away. And so in this video, I want to just go through some of the stuff I've gotten from them and explain who they are for people who don't really know. So first of all, if you don't know, these small print publishers that are popping up are publishers who are putting out small batches of games that have already been released digitally and or aren't going to have a physical version that fans want, but it's not really worth a big company to throw the money behind publishing them and getting them out into every retail channel. A lot of times some of these publishers will partner with Kickstarters that are getting going. If these Kickstarters want to offer a physical version, they might do it through some of these publishers, they might do it on their own, but at the end of the day, it's all good because it gets these games that people want physically into their hands. So if you're a digital only person, that's awesome. The world is an easier place for you right now. If you're a physical collector, then you'll probably know about them, or you're gonna love hearing this stuff. So thanks for checking out this episode. To get started, there are 3 of these kinds of publishers that I know about, and I'm gonna go through the biggest one first, which is Limited Run Games. And Limited Run Games was opened as a small publishing subset of the Mighty Rabbit Studios developer. So these guys were developing a bunch of small indie games, and I think they got the idea that they wanted to kind of put these games out on disc, and that's what they did. So they put out a couple of their games on disc and saw a need for these small print runs and made deals with other developers, made deals for games that fans really want, and put that stuff out. And they put it out at a decent cost, I would say. Sometimes the licensing forced them to go a bit higher. I know recently Darius Burst was released at $60 US, which was twice as much as any other game they've put out. But that's because of the licensing and how much the digital version costs. So on one hand, I want to praise them for putting out so many games. Most of the games on this table were from them, and they put out a ton of Vita versions as well. If they can, they put out a Vita version alongside the PS4 version, so you can pick or get both. They put out a soundtrack as well, and they put out some great games. So games like Firewatch and the 2 Shantaes and Shadow Complex, which I absolutely love having physically. Games like Oxenfree and Dear Esther, and just games that are really cool to own physically, but not quite worth a huge print run. They do a great job putting them out. They usually put them out with some extras too, so everyone comes with their own sticker. They're all colored differently, which is kind of nice. Firewatch has some postcards, which is a bit of an extra, and it's got this poster map, which is really cool. If you're someone who wants physical stuff, then always having a manual or little bonuses is always a great extra thing to have. Because that stuff is disappearing as well, and a lot of the big AAA releases don't come with manuals anymore. So here is a checklist. Actually, what is the most recent release Limited Run Games? Let me see if I have a checklist in that one. Most recent, I think, is Dear Esther out of my collection. And yep. So like I mentioned before, you've got your different colored sticker. You've got this is some kind of loyalty program ticket, I guess I got with it. A little, well, it's just a little, there's not really a manual, it's just a little like pamphlet. And the game itself. And here's the checklist. So, looks like their first game was Breach and Clear, which I believe was one of their games. Saturday Morning RPG, also one of their games. Oddworld New and Tasty. They've done a ton of stuff here. Rainbow Moon, Dragon Fantasy, Mystery Chronicle, Lone Soldier, The Swapper, The Swindle. There's Darius Burst coming out. Pang Adventures, which is, I think, Super Buster Bros. Follow up to that. They just put out so many great games for people who want them. Where I will give them a little bit of trouble is, first of all, they do individual games instead of collections, which I know it's hard to slag them for, but at the end of the day, physical things do take up a space, and curation is a big part of any collector's collection. Space is at a premium, and when you get into these really small games, sometimes, having both Shantaes is great, but having 2 Shantae games take up 2 different cases, I'd almost want a Shantae collection. Just give me both of those games on a disc. Same with the Oddworld stuff. Why not put both of those on a disc instead of having them each take up their own collection? Now, that's a preference of mine personally. I care more about having them on disc than I do about showing them. So I know other people may really appreciate having each in an individual disc. But you know, that's my personal preference, and I can't really criticize them much for that. All of these games also have numbers on the side, so you know, if you're a crazy person who wants to collect every game, regardless of if you like it, which a lot of people do, sadly, they keep the games sealed, they already have the digital ones, or they just don't care about them, they just want them to see them go up in value. That's a shame. That's the dark side of collecting that I don't want to get into, because that's not why I'm in it. But it is still cool to see those numbers there, to know, okay, this is LRP2. Why is that P2 actually? I'm not sure. This is P13. So you can kind of keep track along with your checklist which numbers you got. So back to my complaint. Limited Run does limited runs, and that is a shame. That is part of their sales pitch, is these games will never be reprinted. You have to order them the day that they come out, or else you don't get them ever, no matter. So, they put 2 batches out, one in the morning, one in the evening, so like when work starts and after work, if you're doing your typical 9 to 5 shift. And sometimes they sell it in minutes, depending on how popular the game is. Other times it could take up to 24 hours, but it's a shame that if 10,000 people want these games, there's only 5,000 out there, and that's about the print run, is usually about 5,000 games. And scalpers have jumped onto that. It's a shame that Darius Burst that came out recently, people were selling it for 4 times the cost. For me in Canada, these games, the exchange rate and the shipping is a ton. These games are really hard to justify sometimes, so I do only get my favorite or ones I'm really curious about. But the cost is annoying. The scalper market is annoying. There's 2 sets of, there's 2 big mindsets for collectors, and I'll get to that in a different video sometime. But there are collectors who just want to own for themselves, that want to share the hobby with their friends, and talk about these things. And then there are collectors who just want to make money off of it. And those kinds of scalpers, those people that bought the NES Classic and scalp, you know, and buy up all the tough amiibos to find, the Fire Emblem special editions, and these games too. It's a shame that Limited Run is buying into that. There's just sell as many as you can print. I can understand you don't want to make a big print run, but if you get enough pre-orders, then do a second run. But no, that's part of their thing, is these games, once they're out of print, they'll never be printed again, and that's a shame. So as I said earlier, there are 3 publishers, and Limited Run is just the biggest. The newest one is the one I'll get to next, because they have a partnership with Limited Run, which is Special Reserve Games. These guys have only put out 1 console game that I know of so far, which is the recently released Strafe. And those pre-orders sold out. Again, I don't know if, like Limited Runs, they have a set number and they won't reprint. I hope that's not the case. But they did partner with Limited Run to get the word out there and to sell copies through both storefronts. So they put out that game Strafe, which looks pretty cool. The disc was released the same day the digital version came out, so that's interesting. It's different from Limited Run's model of getting older games that have proven popular. But they're worth checking out, if you know, to see what they put out in the future. The next one is one I kind of discovered by accident, and I'm really glad I did, because they put out 2 amazing games that I absolutely love having physically, which is Res Infinite and Hyper Light Drifter. So Res Infinite was a big deal for me because I had the original Res for PS2. I had the Res HD as part of the Cubed collection on Xbox 360. It's such a cool trance game. It's worth replaying. But I want to play it the best way possible, and the PS2 version doesn't look and sound as good as it could, and that Xbox version is also alright, but still, like, this is the definitive version so far, and I'm going to keep playing this one. So anyway, this publisher is called I Am 8-Bit, and they started off as an online storefront from the UK, which primarily sold records and CDs, so soundtracks to games. They recently put out the 4 and 6 disc Persona 5 soundtrack, so I think I have one of those coming. I think it was only the 4 disc because I couldn't justify the cost of the 6 disc, and it sold out. But again, another place worth checking out, because they've put out other games too. These are just the 2 that interested me, and that's pretty much it. I love these publishers. I mean, I have some complaints obviously that I mentioned, but for the most part I just appreciate that someone is putting this stuff out there, and I think we're going to see this grow in the future. I think a lot more of these publishers are going to pop up, and we're going to see a ton of these great games come out. I mean, there's still a ton I would love to see. I mean, I have Firewatch here, and I have Dear Esther, but I would love Gone Home on disc, so, you know, we'll see if that kind of stuff ever happens. At this point, we just take what we can get, so I look forward to seeing more of this stuff in the future. I hope you guys check out these publishers, and thanks for checking out this video. Talk to you next time.